Good evening, everybody. Welcome to this evening's Exchange Talk, hosted remotely by the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland Research and Knowledge Exchange Department. We're delighted to be able to continue our sharing of research, both by doctoral students and of the broader research community at the RCS. To clarify the format of today's talk, Dr. Jill Morgan will talk for around 30 minutes, and then there will be the opportunity to ask some questions for around 15 minutes following that. You're encouraged to not only ask questions, but also to highlight particular resonances or personal experiences you have of the subject matter. Questions can be asked and comments left by clicking on the Q&A speech bubble at the bottom of your screen at any point throughout the talk, as and when these questions or comments come to you. These will be revisited at the end, and we'll try to answer them all. Questions can still be answered offline, even if they can't be answered in the allotted time that we have. In the Q&A feature, you can also like anybody's questions or comments that you agree with or wanted to ask yourself. And doing this promotes or prioritises the question or comment to Jill and myself at the end of the talk. This evening's talk is also being audio transcribed, and I've posted a link for this, or Stephanie has posted a link for this in the chat window. So it gives me great pleasure to introduce today's speaker. Jill Morgan holds a PhD in music psychology from Edinburgh University and is a fellow of the Higher Education Academy. At the RCS, she lectures on the Postgraduate Learning and Teaching programme and coordinates the Introduction to Music Psychology module in the School of Music. She has given many presentations at conferences and seminars nationally and internationally, and has been a guest on BBC Radio Scotland, speaking about the impact of music on people's lives. Her current research focuses on expanding knowledge in the area of music in the social setting, the role of teaching in the arts, and the impact of music in health and well-being. So without any further ado, over to you, Jill.
Thanks very much, Graham. Fantastic. So hello, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight to visit what I think is a really fascinating world, the world of music psychology. And I find it fascinating because it affects us all, both consciously and subconsciously, because music is everywhere in our lives, and it's an incredibly powerful art form. Now, my main research focus, as Graham has already said, is the role of music in the social world and how it affects relationships between people and alters our behaviours. And many people tend to think of music in relation to our own choice of what we listen to. So, for example, the playlists that we put up on our phones or concerts that we may choose to go to. When we're in charge, we make that choice about what we want to hear. But what about the music out in the social environment that's chosen by others that we have to listen to? Music played in environments in the outside world or through the media for a specific purpose in order to affect or manipulate our behaviours, often to make us spend money. And that's what we're going to look at tonight. So I'm just going to pop my slides on so that you can see these. I'm going to share these with you. You can get them to come up. Just put myself in presenter view here. That's it, right, okay. So music is big business. And the UK music industry contributes to over £5 billion to the UK economy every year. And you know, there's a total of 91 billion songs played on Spotify or Apple Music or any of the competitors last year. So that's an awfully big number. And so it's no surprise, therefore, to learn that music also has become a major component part of consumer marketing, both at the point of purchase and in advertising, because it's a really efficient and effective way of human communication and to trigger moods. And one of the reasons music is used to sell products is because it has this wonderful ability to evoke a huge range of emotions. Happiness, sadness, fear, passion, anger, surprise, all of these can be encapsulated in music. And music psychologists have been researching, certainly since the middle of the last century, on how our brains and our bodies react to music. And it's a huge topic, and a lot of it is very scientific. But I thought tonight I would just put together a few key points, rather like a meta-analysis of research that's been carried out to show how music impacts on the money we spend and how it has the potential to affect how we spend that money. So we're going to have a quick look at how music affects our brains and our bodies, our minds, when we listen to music, and what makes it so effective in the world of marketing. Well, music forms, as I've said, a key part in our lives and in our life stories and the emotions that play a big part in those. I often find when I chat to people in my research and I ask them, well, what does music mean to you? They quite often give me this chronological list of pieces that have had some kind of effect on them throughout their lifespan, and all the accompanying emotions linked with that. They tell me about significant events, significant places, significant people that they associate with certain pieces. And so one emotion that frequently comes out of these amazing stories that I'm told is the emotion of happiness. So I just quite like to take happiness as one of the emotions that we can just talk about here, because it's a key one that's used in advertising. If you think about some of the Christmas ads, we all know about these Christmas ads, they're very popular now. Certainly the John Lewis ones over the past few years, happiness has been one of the top 3 emotions that is used in the ad. So it's a really important emotion in the world of advertising. And happiness is linked to the production of a hormone or neurotransmitter, dopamine. You can see it on the little slide there at the top right-hand corner, and that's associated with our happiness levels when we listen to music or play music as well. It's a bit like a chemical messenger sent from our internal pharmacy, if you like, and it transmits signals to the brain. Sometimes it's called the happiness drug. That's not entirely accurate because it's really associated with anticipation and reward. So if you imagine you want to eat you've got a delicious meal in front of you and you anticipate those fantastic flavors, and then you get the reward by eating the meal, and dopamine is released, so it makes you feel fantastic because you've had this gorgeous food. And it's the same with music. You put on a piece of music that you want to hear, you anticipate it because you know you're going to really enjoy it, and then you get the reward by hearing it, and dopamine is released into your body, and you get that wonderful feeling of well-being. So the success of music in the commercial market taps into all of this, playing with our emotions and our associated memories in order for music to help construct a message and tell the story of that brand. So I'm now just going to quickly have a look at this thing called sensory marketing, which taps into our 5 senses, which you've got there on the slide. And sensory marketing really focuses on an emotional level to capture us, the consumer's attention, and to affect our purchasing behaviour and to create a bit of a loyalty to the brand. And it's a really essential tool for strengthening our connection between the brand by stimulating our senses and generating these emotions. And it has a really powerful influence over our buying decisions. Now, the world of sensory marketing is driven by 2 key factors. The first one is neuroscience, and that's where research is carried out to see how the brain and the body is affected by listening to music. And the second is the evolution of markets, which are becoming increasingly competitive and increasingly global. And it's so important for a brand to be able to differentiate itself between other brands and give us, the consumer, this really memorable experience in its advertising. If you look there on the top left-hand corner, you'll see the 360-degree sensory communication framework. And sensory marketing uses this. It's a 3-point framework where they try to capture our attention in the pre-purchase experience. This is where they want to make us aware of the product or the service in relation to other options to show that theirs is better, and it activates our desire for that product. The second is actually the experience during the purchase, where we get the feeling of the value of what we're buying. So we need to feel that it is valuable in some way or another to us. And then we have the post-purchase experience, which maximizes our experience there by helping us to evaluate what it is we have just bought. Will we go back and buy another one? Will we tell people about the product or the service? So this is actually quite a key framework for advertisers and marketers. Now, I want to look at 3 areas of advertising and marketing. I'm very, very briefly, because we don't have long in half an hour, going to look at shopping and food and beverage consumption, but I'm mainly going to focus on TV advertising. So let's just start off with looking at purchasing, shopping, going physically into a shop. Some of us may find that a dim and distant memory, given the current situation we are in, but hopefully we'll get back to that at some point in the future. Now, volume and tempo, as you would imagine, are very important when you're playing music in a retail outlet. Of course, as you can imagine, research has shown that the faster paced music will get your customers in and out more quickly. If that's the kind of shop that you've got, you need a fast footfall. Or if you have the kind of retail outlet which needs people to stay and ponder and think about something, the music is going to be slower and much more relaxing. But I want to tell you about one fascinating study that was carried out just over 20 years ago, actually in 1999, about genre, the use of genre in purchasing. And this particular research was conducted by Professors Adrian North and David Hargreaves, and they are very eminent leading music psychologists who've carried out some amazing research studies. And they put some music speakers on the top shelf of an end-of-aisle wine display in a supermarket, just to see if different sorts of music could influence the choice of the customers as they were buying wines. So they had 4 shelves. On one side they had French wine, and on the other side they had German wine. And there was a good mix of expensive and cheaper end wines in both. And also there was, they were matched price-wise as well, for dry and sweetness too. So there was a really good fair competition between the 2 nationalities. And all they had to do was just change the music. Well, it came with amazing results. They had control, first of all, where they played no music at all. And in that instance, slightly more red wine was sold than German. When they played the German music through the speakers, the German wine sold twice as fast as the French wine. And then when they played the French music through the speakers, the French bottles sold 5 times as fast as the German bottles. And the effect was totally subconscious, and there were only 1 in 8 of the customers had actually realized that music had influenced their purchase. So you may say that there are ethical implications there. Were the customers being deliberately misled? Is that appropriate? I think that's probably got a bit of potential for some interesting debate. Unfortunately, we don't have time to do that, but somebody might like to type in a comment about that. I just very quickly want to just show you this structure of, that was created by Jane Bagdare in 2011. I'm not going to go into all of this in detail, but it just shows the results of a study where they compiled 30 years worth of research into the effect of music on the shopping experience. And they came up with this, which just really shows how music can affect consumer purchasing on a cognitive, emotional, and behavioral levels, and all the things, the component parts, the intricacies of these music variables on creating the perfect music for your outlet to increase your revenue, even down to the kinds of customers you have. What time of day are they purchasing? Do you play different music in the morning to the afternoon to the evening? All these very intricate component parts that one has to think about when dealing with advertising in the retail outlets. I just want to now have a very quick look at restaurants before we move on to TV commercials. And there was a study that was carried out just last year, actually, in 2019, in the University of South Florida, that found that music volume affects your heart rate and influences your choice of what you're going to eat. Soft background music tended to make the customers buy healthy options, probably because, this is researchers' opinion anyway, it gave them a little bit more time, because they were more relaxed, to think about what they were going to choose. Whereas the louder music made people choose the more unhealthy music because it stimulates the heart rate, and they were buying things like burgers and fries. And this is called retail atmospherics, and it's really gaining in popularity in the restaurant world, and it's a really, really important tool for businesses to consider when they're playing music in their restaurants. In terms of bars, this was another interesting study that was carried out in 2008, where male participants, 40 male participants in Western France, were actually studied for the number of drinks they ordered in the evening, how long time-wise they spent drinking those drinks, and how many gulps they took for each drink. And it was found that when the sound level was raised within the bars, the consumers drank more, and they drank more quickly. And the result of that was that they ordered, on average, one more drink when the music was raised to a higher decibel level than in a lower volume condition. And that's quite major for an outlet. If every customer, or on average most customers, will buy an extra drink per night, that can make a huge impact on one's revenue. So let's now turn to soundtrack your brand. I'm not going to look into this in too much detail, but those of you that are interested in this particular field, you should go onto this website, put the link there. This is quite fascinating. This is a professional body, but if you're interested in creating music for your business, you can employ them, and they will help you choose the most effective music for your particular business. I'm just going to play the first 30 seconds or so of one of their advertisements on their website. And this is a hotel in Stockholm called the Carl Hotel, and they have employed Soundtrack Your Brand to provide music for the hotel. And this is just a couple of managers talking about the effectiveness and the importance of music to the customer experience. It just shows that they say music is 50% of the customer experience, and how they have to consider the different times of day in different parts of the hotel, where they have to consider different types of music in order to give the customer that perfect experience. So this is just one outlet that really truly values music and realizes what music can bring to their business. Now, I'm going to look now at some TV ads, some of which you will recognize, I'm quite sure. We're going to have a look at this first one. This is from Volvo Trucks. This is in late 2013, this advert came out. It's rather brilliant, as you will see if you don't remember it or haven't seen it. Quite bizarre in some ways. Before I talk about it, I think it was quite nice just to watch it. And I would like you to not just pay attention to the visuals, but just to think about the effectiveness of the music in the background, and what you think might help this ad to make it more powerful. Okay, you'll be very relieved to know that that was shot in one take. He wasn't asked to do that several times, which is a good relief. It was called The Epic Split. And it's quite surprising, really, isn't it, to watch a stunt action by Jean-Claude Van Damme set to the very ethereal sound of Enya's Only Time. But it does really match the advertisement, the visuals absolutely perfectly, because it's a very, very steady beat. You've got that 4 beats in a bar, just very repetitive, and it's quite a linear melody. It's not challenging, it's very smooth, no leaps of intervals going on. So it's very, very effective, and it's matching the precision of those Volvo trucks absolutely perfectly. The lyrics too play quite an important part. Who can say where the road goes? So music lyrics can actually help to convey the message of a brand. 1 week after that was released, it had been viewed online 25 million times. And after 9 days, it reached 40 million views. It went viral eventually, and in 2014, towards the end of that, it had been viewed over 75 million times on YouTube. So that says it all, really. It scooped up loads and loads of awards, and It cost in the region of 3 to 4 million to produce, but it brought in for Volvo an estimated 170 million pounds, so it was massively effective. Now, I think it's a really good example of showing why an ad is so powerful and effective. And in order for an ad to have the maximum impact, it's got to have a crucial key moment. And this moment has got to be one that can be committed to our long-term memories, one that will stay there for a while. We don't often remember the whole ad, but there's quite often just a part of that ad that we can say, oh yes, I remember that bit. And neuroscientific analysis from that particular advertisement demonstrated that the visuals alongside Enya's soundtrack, particularly from male viewers, gripped men's attention as Jean-Claude Van Damme was going into the split. It's almost like the viewers were anticipating the pain that he potentially might have been going through. Once he was in the split, the male viewers' attention then decreased, and there's a graph that shows this, which is quite fascinating. But that doesn't matter. The key moment is actually as he moves into the split, and that's the bit that memory is encoded into the long-term memory. And that's what made this particular advertisement so powerful and so effective. So what does make a good ad? It's got to be memorable. It's got to be shareable. You want to tell people about it. I'm sure a lot of people told people to go and view that one. It has to tell you the value of the brand, which it clearly does in that Volvo one, because it shows the precision of the vehicles. It also has to tell you a point of action. It tells you what to do next. Do you go and visit your car salesman? Do you go online and buy that product or visit the store? It gives you a message of some kind. And music can help to communicate all these factors. Now, what I wanted to do just now, considering the position we'll find ourselves in, you might think that brands would want to maybe just sort of go under the radar a little bit and remove some of their spending on advertisement until our lives return back to normal. But rather than choosing to go undercover, Birdseye decided to show its support for shoppers at this current time of isolation by remaining on our TV screens and reaching out with a very sort of comforting support of their very familiar brand. Very timely, because actually the sale of frozen foods has gone up 84% in recent weeks, which is really not surprising. So I just want to show you this ad, and it's called What's for Tea. It was launched on ITV just on the 7th of this month, and it just gives a very cameo snapshot of our everyday lives in lockdown. So it speaks to us. It was made really rapidly in 18 days, and it was created and approved by the Birdseye marketers across Europe, all working remotely in isolation. If you listen to the music, it's very simplistic, as is the message. Just follows a very basic 3 beats in the bar, very repetitive, again, not challenging to our ears, nice and easy to listen to, and it's got quite a nice upbeat ending, a quick sort of flourish of plucked strings there before we hear the final words, which are Bird's Eye. So see what you think of this one. So I think that does speak to us. Really happy music, again, the happiness emotion coming through there, playing to that for us to make us feel better and to show us that Birdseye is there to support us. What I'd like to do now, just to sort of finish, is to show you 3 examples of quite memorable advertisements that worked really well and that were very, very, very effective, but targeted different demographics. And the first one is one that's quite historic, and I think we can probably say that it was the first example of a successful advert in which music really helps convey the message and helps us to link to a particular brand. Now, some people listening in here probably won't have even been born in 1973, but those of you that were, I'm sure, will remember this particular one. It's the Hovis ad that was, the music for this was Volvo Trucks' New World Symphony, which is a very familiar piece of music to us all. It was directed by Ridley Scott, now Sir Ridley Scott. That launched his directing career. And it just shows this young boy pushing a bike up a hill, loaded, a cobbled hill, loaded with bread. And Hofe's sort of strapline, it had a core message of, and I quote, hard work, family, and strength of community. So this ad really appealed to the community and to families. So that was the demographic that it was targeting. It's meant to associate you with the wholesomeness of the bread. This is actually a digital restoration of the original ad. And the music's played by a new generation of the Ashington Colliery Brass Band, who played the original version. And it was actually voted the UK's most heartwarming and iconic advert. So let's hear this one. That became known as the Hovis tune. But of course, we all know it as Dvorak's New World Symphony. I'd like to play you now an ad that was for a McDonald's campaign. I don't think I could possibly do a talk on advertisements without talking about good old McDonald's, because they have spent so much money on their advertising. They always seem to be producing a new material all the time. Now this is one from 2012, and it was targeting a new fruit drink, which McDonald's said was very healthy for children, and it's called the Fruities Bubble. And in this, we see some children in slightly slow motion with the sun shining, running around, and they are trying to chase fruit-shaped bubbles in time with the rhythm of the music. The music definitely plays to the demographic, i.e. younger people, because it was written by Carl Orff, a very well-known educator of children and music. And this piece is Gassenhauer. This was a reworking of a lute tune from the 16th century that Orff made into schools pieces in the 1950s. The relevance of this music, it's very familiar because it's used a lot on film and radio and TV, but also because it's played by a school band, it was intended to be played in the school setting, it relates very much to the children on the screen. The other thing I'd like you to listen out for, right at the end, you hear the very well-known McDonald's jingle. And this came from an earlier campaign in 2003 when McDonald's paid Justin Timberlake $6 million to provide the vocals for the song I'm Loving It. And that's the McDonald's slogan, which has been encapsulated into to this, that you will hear, this jingle that you'll hear at the end. The jingle, as you will recognize, is so easy to mimic. It's very identifiable, and more importantly, it's impossible to forget. So that's another example of music communicating a message. It can only be McDonald's when you hear that jingle. I personally find it a little bit irritating at the end of this ad, because we've got the lovely music by Carl Orff, and suddenly you get the McDonald's jingle, but the message is clearly there. It's McDonald's, it's their ad. Let's play this one. It doesn't really fit at the end there, does it? Okay, so just to finish with, I'm going to be quite self-indulgent here, and I'm going to play my favourite ad of all times. I think that this is just quite incredible, and that it really fits all the component parts of a successful campaign advertisement using music. It's memorable, it's shareable, it shows the value of a brand, and encourages you to go and buy the product. This is a Cadburys ad. It was launched in 2007, and it was at a time when the brand was suffering after a salmonella scare, and they had to withdraw quite a few of the chocolate bars. So Cadbury's reputation was slightly on the decline, but this ad went on to become a major award-winning advertisement. The brief for it was, eating Cadbury's makes you feel good. And the aim was to rekindle our love of the brand, the consumer, with Cadbury's. And despite some reservations that it might be a little bit too abstract and have not much effect, Cadbury's reported after the ad was released that the sales of dairy milk increased by 9%, and that the public perception of the brand carried out by YouGov showed that 20% more people looked favourably on Cadburys in the period after the advertisement's release than previously. So the ad consists of a very simple 90-second track shot across a music studio. The music is Phil Collins' In the Air Tonight, playing in the background. And I think the strength lies in the anticipation we feel looking at the close-up visuals of the lead character. I won't give it away who that is, some of you will know already, alongside the lyrics, I can feel it coming in the air tonight. And we're just filled with anticipation. What is coming in the air tonight? And then we really get that reward very powerfully when that lead character plays the drum kit along with the song's famous drum fill. So here we are, let's listen to that. I've given it a very big wind up there, haven't I? So let me just get that slide on. Don't you just want to share the enjoyment with that gorilla? You can just feel his happiness at being able to play that drum fill, and it really makes you want to go out and buy a bar of Cadbury's chocolate. Even the little strapline there, that bar full of joy, bar full of goodness. Okay, well, thank you very much, everybody, for listening. I think that's probably more than my half an hour up, and I am going to hand back to Graham because I expect we've got some questions or some comments from people. Okay, thanks, Graham.
Thanks a lot for that fascinating talk, Jill. We do have some questions, and I'd like to remind attendees at the talk that you can ask a question just by going down to the Q&A bubble at the bottom of the screen.
Okay.
The first question this evening comes from Tim Cooper. The Hovis advert is really interesting. Whilst the music has its own emotional content, the quality of the recording seems to carry a lot of the character. I'm particularly thinking of the old-style brass sound, thin, fast vibrato, and the obviously noisy recording technology. Is there much scholarship that thinks about these ideas that explores these aspects alongside the musical thought?
Yeah, no, that's an interesting one, isn't it? Obviously, they've thought to restore it and put it into a 4K digital restoration of it, because it's still quite a popular, quite an iconic ad that people like to refer to today. I think you're absolutely right. I think hearing it in the old-fashioned sound qualities gives it quite a lot of impact. It makes it more original, I think. Whether there's been research done into that, I genuinely don't know, actually, Jim. That would be something that would be definitely worth looking at, because it does give it an authenticity, doesn't it? That we might not have if we had it in its purest form. So I think that's a very very good question, and that is something that would be definitely worth investigating. I can't answer whether there are any whether any research has been done into that, but that is certainly something that will be worth looking into. Absolutely, yeah.
Thanks a lot, Jill. We've got a question here from James Mitchell. Where a conscious decision may have been made about the music in a restaurant, shop or advert, to what extent can music be chosen to reliably have the intended impact, given how much personal taste dictates our reaction to music? Yeah,
that's just a really another excellent question. I think that this is a problem for all advertisers. Music is so subjective. We see this all the time when we're carrying out research into music psychology, and that's what makes it challenging. That is what makes it so rewarding as well, because we're all unique. And it is definitely quite a challenge for those in the marketing world to be able to, because you can't please everybody all the time. You're always going to get somebody for whom you're playing music, and they're going to find it thoroughly irritating. You do see that in studies of restaurants, where some research shows that some demographic actually like loud music playing in restaurants, where others, it would actually make them walk out. I remember Joanna Lumley, the actress, had a campaign going on for loud music in restaurants and shops, because she found it absolutely very distasteful, just couldn't cope with it. So that is a really good question, and it is hard to target the right music for the right occasion. And this is the skill of trying to please the majority whereas you know that you're not going to be able to satisfy absolutely everybody. We do know that people tend to, certainly in the world of advertising, they tend to have a desire for products if the music they're listening to is music that they actually physically like. That research has shown that quite conclusively. But again, because we're all individual, it is hard to actually get music that caters for absolutely everybody. I think you then sometimes look at your demographic, for example, in shops, let's say, or restaurants, sort of fast food restaurants that might appeal to the younger age group. Young people tend to identify with specific types of music because it's all part of, it makes them who they are. They relate very much to a particular genre of music. And so advertisers very much tap into that. This is the kind of music that age group will like. So therefore, we're going to play that because we're going to send a message and get some kind of loyalty from a particular demographic that we're targeting.
Thanks, Jill.
Hope that's answered that.
I think we've got a question in the chat window from Martin Postle. If music in an advert has the objective to create mood, does it have to be music that the audience has a familiarity with? Thinking of shops playing well-known Christmas music to create a seasonal mood. Yes,
okay. Well, that again is, research has shown that familiarity doesn't breed contempt. It does actually quite often help convey a message. Familiar music, people feel very comfortable with it. They don't find it challenging. It's something that they feel they can relate to. And if you feel that you can relate to something, then you're halfway to getting the attention of your consumer. It doesn't necessarily have to be music that people are familiar with. Of course it does. You can challenge your audience. But research has shown that if your target demographic is familiar with specific pieces of music, then that works in your favor.
Thanks, Jill. Last call for questions.
Oh.
We are actually at 1:45, so...
Yes, I understand that. Sorry, I think we just went slightly over there.
Thank you. Okay, if there are no more questions, I would like to extend sincere thanks to Dr. Jill Morgan for a fascinating talk, but also sincere thanks to all of you for attending and keeping this important knowledge exchange activity going. Next week's speaker is Professor Roy Howitt, who will be giving a talk on Chopin's etudes and their purpose. The exchange talk will be at the same time, the same place, 6 p.m. on Monday, the 27th of April, here on Zoom. I would encourage you to check the Research and Knowledge Exchange Twitter page for further updates, and that's at RCS_the exchange. So, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
Thank you. Thanks, Graham. Thank you. Bye-bye. Bye, everyone. Bye.